I think when you look at businesses and you look at the world that we're in, and maybe you look at the mental health areas, those two paths don't cross very often. And sometimes a lot of employers don't want those paths to cross, or maybe the mental health agencies don't, but it's a natural fit.
When I sat down with employers, I was, first of all, amazed at how little they knew about the services that we provide. They knew, that I was the mental health guy. That was pretty much the extent of the information that they had. And when I began to list the alcohol and drug programs that we had, early intervention programs, mental health programs, and then told them how their employees could take advantage of those programs with no cost to them, it was they couldn't believe it. It was kind of like I gave them, they won the lottery. Just by me saying that, and they couldn't believe that all this was here all this time and they didn't know about it. Well, the fact is that business owners are so busy doing their business, working the jobs, getting new work, that this doesn't really fit into their radar.
I think for a number of years you knew those organizations were there, but you didn't know what they did or what they were involved with in the community. Maybe they just worked closely with the hospitals or the veterans groups or some other organization. I think the ask and communication for support between organization and business in the past may have been just a, hey, we have a levy coming up. Would you help support that? Would you like to sponsor a t-shirt? We're having a walk or a walkathon or maybe a 5K. Would you like to put your logo on the back of a t-shirt? That may have been great in the beginning to help support that, but everybody is being asked for those donations today. Why am I spending my time and my energy to support you and your levy or your organization? Why is that important to me and my business and to my employees? I think right now is a critical time for boards of the organizations who have been supporting our communities for a number of years to really work with our business community, to get with the executives, to get with the HR folks, to get with the union representation of all of our factories and organizations. We have to partner to be able to control and to overcome many of the problems we have within our communities.
So we've got a population that is at risk. We also have a population that's unemployable, and some of that population are in those circumstances because of excessive drug and alcohol use. If we could have ADAM boards, if we can have our communities, if we can have our mental health systems be able to get individuals back to an employable state, we, again, economically could flourish. Our businesses and our communities are a source of great energy, great talent, great skills, whatever it is that they do to make money and put more taxes into the system. Individuals who get an opportunity to have tax resources in their hands, I would love for them to really look at business as a partner with them. Figure out how we can help each other, because the ultimate bottom line is, in order for us to stay healthy and viable as an economic base to raise our families, our communities have to be clean and sober.
I believe that business is a partner in this whole issue of substance abuse because businesses drive the economy. The businesses need workers. The workers bring home money, they spend money in the stores. The workers own homes, they pay taxes. And so when we can get the businesses to help the employees understand the whole issue of how the drug-free workplace programs are not just there to stop you from doing something wrong, it also helps you to maintain a better lifestyle.
Small businesses were getting those that the large companies were turning away. And he said, we can't be caught in that position. We need to start drug testing ourselves. And then the chamber offered this class. My biggest thing was that there was a way to help them stay here at Spillman. a way to get them help, because as I've said to our associates time and again, no one should be put on the dung heap of life because they've made some mistakes. We need to give people a second chance, and this program offers us the possibility of doing that with our associates.
Well, the drug-free program that we had prior was just basically the guidelines that workers' comp set so that we could get our percentage. And it just didn't seem thorough enough. So we wanted something a little more extensive. We wanted something that was going to really look at all of the problems with drugs and alcohol in the workplace, and then also have some type of an alternative program, someplace we could refer or have that back support for what we were needing. So just something more comprehensive and thorough. Prior to actually going through the comprehensive program with our management, we had that drug-free safety program where our second chance agreement failed. It would take 3 weeks for our employee to get in if they did choose to sign the second chance agreement based on a positive drug screen. So with that 3 weeks, a lot of things happened. He was off work because he had to have a clean reentry before he could come back. He wasn't getting any counseling for that period of time. And so a lot of times he would quit or he would go find another job. And so it really wasn't supporting what we were trying to accomplish.
I think that being a substance-free workplace changes the norms and the culture as for a company, because once you go through the training and once you've been a part of it for a while, they realize that they're doing this because they care about me and they care about my family. So that adds to that feeling of family or feeling of camaraderie that you have within an organization, because you're having this policy that, yes, it's a work-related policy for that, but it just transcends to their personal life, their family members, and it might be their cousin twice removed that lives 3 hours away, or it could be their kids or their spouse, or it's just amazing how that goes. So I think that's where that shift goes in. You can almost visibly see it, and then they start reaching out to you more as the employer or as the HR representative to say, I've got this going on. Do you know how I could find help, or do you have anybody that you would recommend, or who would you reach out to for this? So that's where that culture shift is. They're not afraid then to ask, because that stigma is somewhat gone, as far as, the stigma of it's gone.
It's tough to live today. Financially, social burdens, the racism that can be out there. When you come into your workplace, you want to know that you're supported. And if you're struggling with any type of substance abuse, it's important to know that you're going to be supported there too. So that's why we've tried to incorporate a program that will actually do that, offer that support. So it's very important for us to play that role as an employer.
I would just really encourage you to understand the importance of the other nonprofits and of the businesses in your community, not just to help with your funding, but to be there as part of the community. And it's the best thing we can do for this community. Not just complain that we have a drug problem and not just expect the courts to do something about it, but how about let's do something about it before these folks ever get into the court system.
In order for us to have our workplace at Elford have drug and alcohol-free sort of DNA, is one that everybody understands there's a business case for it. I believe that with communication, with this collaboration instead of competition between the resource groups, that we actually could get drug and alcohol-free DNA infused throughout Ohio, and that would help all of us flourish.
The role of business is an evolving thing for us as executives of Adams boards or mental health and recovery services boards. In the past, we haven't had a lot of interaction with business. other than maybe at a levy time to ask them to support our levy, or to see them at a chamber or Rotary event or some other service club. But I think we're coming to recognize more and more that business gives us access to employees, supervisors, and even families to talk a little bit about drugs, prevention of drug abuse, and an opportunity for us to really solidify a workforce that is competent and available. I think that's the biggest challenge all of us have. Today, the whole scenario is different. One of the questions that employers ask me is, how can I find employees or how can I help employees who fail a drug screen? That's a new question, and it's an area that we're not that comfortable with right yet.
We help a lot of people get jobs. We have 18 different offices in Northwest Ohio. Last year we had about 7,000 people that we employed at 250 companies, again in Northwest Ohio. Mike was hearing a lot of stories about companies needing employees, and they couldn't find them because too many of them were drug tested and they failed the drug test. So one day he came to our office and he said, "Tell me about this with Spirion. Are you experiencing this same problem?" And I said, "Oh my goodness, yes, this is a huge problem. Drug testing, we eliminate 50% of the people sometimes." So Mike knew this was a real opportunity.
We've been doing we call it We Care at Work, but it's a drug-free workplace program in Allen, Auglaize, and Hardin counties for about 3 years. And what I have learned over the course of those 3 years is that the personal contact that I have as a board exec with businesses makes a huge difference. In the past, we would send out an email or send out a flyer, or I would have a staff make connections, and we were reasonably effective. But I was amazed that when I made the call and was willing to come out and sit down and talk with a business owner or an HR director about our services, about how this program could help them, I had more businesses interested than I've ever had before. Business owners aren't used to having the executive director of Adams Board or a Mental Health and Recovery Services Board come out to their place of business, sit down for a half an hour, and talk about services available and how a drug-free workplace program can not only help them retain and hire employees, but also help us keep people drug-free, keep them with their families, and keep them on the job. So that was a real revelation to me. I didn't understand the power and the impact of just a quiet word behind the scenes with an employer would have. I think the most difficult thing for us has been, as board execs, has been we're used to talking to social workers. We're used to talking to hospitals and doctors. The business community hasn't been as easy to talk to, partly because we haven't found, in the past, we haven't found kind of a niche for us with them. What I did was I went to each Chamber of Commerce and I explained to them the program, and within 10 minutes, all the chambers said, "No, this is a big problem." They were all willing to get on board with me, and I said, "Look, if you endorse this program," and I explained what it was, I said, "that gives me leverage." And I said, when we do a presentation, I'll have you stand up and take credit for it, but that gives me leverage and an in with businesses that I would never have if all of a sudden the mental health guy is calling, because they don't know who I am, and they don't know what benefit I can be. The time I spent with them was a half an hour or less. Because you think, going out, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to spend 2 hours of my day. For the most part, it was a half an hour, me with the business owner and the HR director, and about 20 minutes into it, They got it. In the last 10 minutes, we were just talking about sports. And I left not only with them being committed to participating in the We Care at Work program, our drug-free workplace program, but also now I had an employer, the HR person, and probably other people on the staff or employees who now saw the mental health board and our programs as a benefit to them. So it was almost like, oh, so this is why we vote for your levy. And it was kind of like I said, yeah, I'm not going to charge you for this, but if you put a levy sign out in front of you, oh yeah, we'll do that, that's no problem. So I kind of gained friends and supporters because they saw me as an asset. And I told them, and I regard them as there's a mutual benefit, because I told them if I can get an employee into treatment early, I have 100% better chance of returning them to the workplace drug-free than if they get fired, get passed on to another employer who then fires them, and they never get treatment. I said, that's the benefit for me, is I divert all these people from a criminal justice system that makes it much more difficult for us. So they win, we win, and I've got new friends. It couldn't be better. We really target as much as possible local employers. So we're not looking for the big Fords or Hondas or whatever the big employer is. They have a corporate structure that, and we're not going to be in with them. We're interested in the small business owner who has maybe 50 employees, maybe 100, maybe less, who can't afford a big attorney from Columbus to work out their drug-free workplace program for them. And those are the ones that are most interested because they recognize the fact that they could never afford this or want to invest in this program on their own. So for each one of those employers, there's 20 to 50 employees. So just take one employer. We have, and this is a glass employer, replaces glass. They have 50 or 60 employees. Each one of those employees, many of them have a family. So now we're impacting that person's family. So add another 4 or 5 people onto that. And just in that one employer, I've impacted possibly thousands of lives and maybe prevented kids from getting involved in substance abuse in school because dad came home or mom came home and talked about what they learned at work. I don't think I'll ever really know the impact that this is going to have. Whenever we go and talk to employers, I always tell them that there's a mutual benefit. As good a person as I am, there's got to be some benefit for me in this, and there's got to be a benefit for you. And I said, look, if you're able to retain a good employee who's maybe made a mistake or maybe has a problem you didn't even know existed, how much less will you have to pay to recruit, hire, train, and get a new employee in place? And I don't even have to finish my sentence before they get it. They said, oh no, that's huge. The second thing was I said, and what's in it for me? The earlier I get somebody into treatment, the more successful I'm going to be. A parent who goes and talks to their child about drugs, that child is 50% less likely to use. I'm less likely to see that person in our treatment programs. So there's a cost benefit to the community, there's a cost benefit to the business, and there's a huge cost benefit to the mental health and recovery services in our community.